Cheerily is sweet and kind. She's the best teacher we could hope for. The perfect stallion you and I must find. Want to make her heart soar. But this one's too old. This one's too dumb. This one clearly has a rambling tendency. It goes on and on. I think it's just a part where you introduce yourself.
This is the part where I introduce myself, isn't it? Fancy that.
Tell us.
Welcome to MLPCRadio Advice Broadcast. This is Sarfthemagnifico.
And with Sarf is me, Shade. Hi.
Unfortunately, Amonisis can't make it today. He's not feeling so great. So we're going to go ahead and record without him. Last week, our viewership was through the roof. I could not even imagine in my wildest dreams that we would get almost 90 total views on that one episode with Mooney.
Cupcakes on the office desk.
It's pretty incredible.
Party hats. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely really good. So this week we have a few questions as well. We were asked to tackle a couple issues, one of them being online dating, the other being transgenderism. However, those are pretty heavy topics, each of them. So we would rather split that up into two different episodes. Next week we'll handle transgenderism. That's probably the heavier of the two, and
that's where the dedicated professionals show up. And until then,
speaking of which, actually, yeah, we're hoping to get someone who identifies that or has experience somewhere along those lines that might be able to come on and talk about it with us, because unfortunately myself, Shade, Amonisis, we don't know so much about it. I'm sure we could talk about it.
Whoa. Speak for yourself, man. I'm a professional in every field. But yes, and if you have any matters concerning gender identity issues or any shade of the subject, that's also valid. That's just as valid.
Yeah,
it's all discussion fuel.
And that's what we're looking for, too. I made a thread earlier in the week asking for people to kind of bring forward their stories and stuff like that. I'm not going to be able to read them off because there's so many of them. I don't think we'd have time in the next 3 hours to be able to go through all that stuff that we actually got. But it did give a lot of good insight. I really enjoyed reading and talking to a lot of the people that came forward. So hopefully we'll be able to put up a page or something somewhere where we can kind of put all those in there anonymously. Don't worry, I'm not going to attach names to any of that stuff. But that was definitely...
But it's interesting. It will give a rather broad perspective for people to absorb.
And I mean, that was the main thing, too. There was a lot of perspective, a lot of really interesting things to read about.
This will be interesting because a lot of people, especially if you're younger and you're socializing in the Earl, as it's called, somewhere in bum chicken nowhere. You might think that you're the only one. It feels like you're the only person who has any sort of these struggles, and it's really not the case. There are more people. Everyone is unique, and everyone sort of faces it in a different way. But you can get some inspiration from how other people have dealt with it or are dealing with any conflict that arises from their the gender issues. That makes it sound rather negative, like it's some sort of disease, but it's not. Honest. Sorry, say something. I'm digging a hole here.
Okay, so we had a few questions this week, not a whole lot, and we definitely really like answering and talking to them. But don't be afraid to keep sending us them. We really enjoy reading them off.
Where do people send these things?
You can send them to our Tumblr, askadviceandblog.tumblr.com. You can email myself, sarfthemagnifico @gmail.com. Pretty much myself, sometimes Amonisis on MLPCRadio a lot. Shade, however, is too stubborn, perhaps too old.
It's your newfangled technology.
Too stubborn, too old to do forums or image boards or anything like that. You'll stick to your art over in your your artist
You
corner.
you could send me an email, sure, but if Sarf gets an email or something and I happen to be on the show or something, I will be able to read it too. The wonders of technology will come to my aid. Yes.
Okay. First question. Actually, I'm going to kind of move to something else. I keep forgetting to talk about this, but I'm actually going to be going to BronyCon in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Now, I know nobody lives anywhere close to me. That's never what happens, but I'm just going to give kind of a advertisement.
Actually, I have a friend who lives close to you.
Yeah, I know. What's his name? The artist Skipsy Pony on DeviantArt, Tumblr, stuff like that. He's going to be there too, which is
even more people.
More people. People actually go to these things.
So it's called the Calgary Pony Exhibition or something.
Just BronyCon. Just BronyCon. I promised them I would give out a...
I know nothing. I have false information. I come bearing false intelligence. Ignore my words.
Okay, first question. Someone asked, how do I internet?
Yes, and because you read the question, I'm supposed to answer it. Well, you are the expert here. How does one internet?
How does one internet?
It's another
interesting question, really. We could go down to the philosophical question. How do I internet? How? Why? Why would you internet? Why do you want to internet, Anonymous? Why? I think there's some kind of psychological need for internet. Dependency, even.
I would actually ask for a bit more elaborate context.
I'm not going to get into the technical
if you have
because...
some netiquette you need to know about, just ask about that. Because it seems that on a basic level you know your way around the internet. You managed to somehow run across this particular podcast with your great query. This is not a serious query, is it?
I don't think it's a serious question, and I hope it isn't a serious question, or else someone's going to be sitting there very much insulted.
Sorry. One of these days there will be a casual episode or something, and we can banter along these lines for a bit, but...
Are you trying to imply, sir, that this is in any way serious?
No, I wouldn't dream of... no, come on. No. No, this is very sincere. However, I think our answer remains. We don't have a lot to go on, sir, or miss, or multi-sex individual, or undecided individual, or robot,
or extraterrestrial being.
Yeah.
We don't want to judge.
No, we need to know more. If you want to know how to go on a forum without being a chicken, then ask us. If you want to know how to find a certain website, go to google.com. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to doing internet stuff, you don't be insistent on trying to be someone else. Really, it's easier just... As with making friends, just kind of be yourself. It isn't a big deal, even if things don't always work out. That's why you have anonymous posting and things like that.
Well, lots of young people on the internet, and they're in the self-discovery phase, and they're trying on different hats, and the internet makes it really easy because you can just log on to someone else.
A big innovation with the internet is that itself. You can be anybody you want, and with the whole thing of anonymous and stuff like that, you can go and you can be someone that doesn't work out, then you be somebody else and somebody else. The main thing is you don't have to compensate for anything, really, and that's one of the biggest things of the internet is trying to be somebody you're not, and just trying to throw yourself, obnoxiously just kind of throwing yourself out there, and caps lock, OMG, LOL, all that stuff.
YOLO!
But when you really get down to the internet outside of Facebook, because I mean that's the bulk of the internet is in Facebook. Not everything that applies on Facebook applies. Image boards, forums, and stuff like that. And I think that's where the question's really based. When someone asks, "How do I internet?" Really, you don't. if you have to ask, then maybe you need to just kind of lurk a bit and watch what people.
Yeah, let's be realistic here. They're just waxing facetious. It's just reiterating a popular meme thingy. You know, you win internet. How do you internet? Internet, how does it work? Etc. Etc. Ad nauseum. So, but we'll return on the subject of online presentation later when we tackle the great seas of the miasmas of online data, and who knows? Maybe we'll get a slight bit philosophical there.
I think we can successfully kind of move past this question now. As I don't believe
dodge it.
Dodge it. Well, I mean, it's a very vague question. How does one internet? And I think a good question that would probably get us going for a good hour, 3 hours of talking if someone just asked why. Why? That's all it takes.
Why does it exist?
You know what?
Why does it exist? Why is invented by our human brain?
I'm thinking
there's only a how.
Do an episode on that. I heard a story earlier in the week, actually, of a university somewhere. One of the questions on this big major exam test, something like that, it was an entry level. It was an entry exam, and one of the questions on the only question on this entry exam was just why. That was the entire exam was just why, and you had 7 or 8 empty pages to go about this. And this one person that went in there, his answer was why not, and he got 100%.
Well, how could you not get 100%?
The perfect valid
unless you're being rated on pretentiousness or something.
Fail.
Why? And then you start quoting Shakespeare. Oh, no. So, the second question here, I guess I shall read that then. Lovely.
Oh, certainly.
Dear friends. Hi. My boyfriend has serious issues with commitment. He had a panic attack when he tried to ask me out, and he threw up out of fear when I asked a half-joking question about where he'd like to live someday when I was applying to colleges. I graduate in a few years, but it's always good to know where you're headed and apply early. I'm fine with taking things slow. I welcome that. But it's gotten to an unhealthy level. He's going to see a professional soon. But what can I do for him? Thank you very much for that well-written, concise message. Would you like to just jump in on that, Sar?
Well, really, I'm just going to kind of point out, I think, the main theme of this episode, it seems, this segment seems to be relationships, and that's a huge thing today.
I like relationships. Relationships are good.
Apparently society does enjoy them because they just relentlessly keep throwing themselves at them, and I'm not the greatest with this type of relationship, things like that. I don't have a whole lot of experience in it, but I still find a lot of these questions being asked of me and things like that, so I definitely try to get my input how I can.
So in this particular case,
in this particular case, I think the main thing, really, damn it, I lost my train of thought again.
I'm not having
a good day.
I can just be the bandit on the train. The train
this is just
bandit.
The most serious episode.
Okay, so thanks to this really concise message, it's pretty. No, it's a really well written message, and even though it's really short, it's pretty clear. The telltale signs are there that this is a textbook case of commitment anxiety. So you can tell whether the physical symptoms when it manifests physically, and by the reasoning at the end that he's actually seeking professional help. So he knows intellectually that. I'm
going to kind of interject a bit. Anxiety is definitely a really harsh thing to go through. Because there's a lot that you can't do that anxiety really prevents you from doing, because, I mean, you're afraid of doing anything, of everything, and all these symptoms and stuff like that you're just riddled with. It's troubling, it really is. And I think the best thing that you can do, mainly, is try to help him out with that. Maybe confronting him with a conversation on it and talking about it. Just kind of figure out where he's at and figure out kind of what he really needs, because, I mean, obviously a relationship, it's a mutual trust, mutual help, and that's really what a relationship is about. But when it comes down to it, I think really you need to know what exactly he needs from it, and kind of let him know what you need as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because anxiety like this it's very similar psychologically to a phobia, because he knows intellectually that he's not actually intellectually afraid of commitment because he's in a relationship with you, and he knows that this is a purely emotional sensation. This anxiety. But a little bit of a counterpoint where you're always normally in the number one answer to almost every problem in relationship seems to be that you talk with them. But when it comes to a phobia, it's not necessarily that you have to go on discussing the commitment anxiety itself over and over. You sort of have to figure out what your role is going to be here and be there for him as he's seeking professional help on this matter, which is a pretty good way to go when it comes to an anxiety like this.
I'm going to interject again, sorry. I have to be able to cut you off at certain moments, or else you'll go on.
Oh dear. I was just getting to a very good point here, but sure, you go back on the train wagon here.
The fellow who gave me this question is kind of telling me right now that he did sit down his boyfriend, if I'm correct, and that's why he's seeing a professional now. I think actually, and you did mention that you didn't believe that he had intellectual problems with commitment, but it does say he threw up out of fear when the person mentioned half-jokingly where he'd like to live someday. So I think there is intellectual fear of commitment there.
No, that sounds to me like disagreements here. That sounds like when it's physically manifest like that, it's probably not an intellectual thing. It's because the way anxiety or phobia works is your brain, your patterns in your brain are basically associating a certain subject or manifestation with negative things. How these have arrived in your childhood or your adolescence is not always obvious, but they're there now. But it doesn't necessarily mean that commitment itself is intellectually feared. I can actually imagine that if you would end up having a very stable, long-lasting relationship with him, and he is being able to manage his anxiety, living together won't be a problem. Actually, it's just being confronted with the prospect that triggers these anxieties. It might be. When it really is a textbook anxiety phobia case, it often works like that. It's the actual commitment is not the problem. The problem is the way that your brain is sort of managed to end up associating these concepts with negative emotions. And that makes it very hard to just sort of be intellectual, matter of fact. So if they're really presenting that strongly, that they have such huge physical manifestations. So it's a good thing that you're understanding of the situation and you're on the ball. I would say that at this point you can. You should always approach such a matter with a positive attitude, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, more than definitely. When your boyfriend, obviously, there's problems there, not just underlying problems, very obvious problems, and so handling it with the most positive attitude you can is really the easiest way to handle it, because it makes it easier not only on yourself, amazingly on yourself, but also on him.
Yeah, but what I was going with that basically is that you shouldn't. The person who sent us this message shouldn't fear that it's necessarily so that you won't have a fully committed relationship. That's completely separate from the actual problem, which is these anxieties, and it might take a while. You have to take it slow. You have to be understanding and just take it as it comes and sort of figure out where you fall, what your position is, because it might just be that your boyfriend prefers not talking about it to you, and then you only bring it up when it's really a big problem for you. and you figure out a time and place for that, not just sort of drop it on them in the morning. We have to talk. We need to move to Mexico together, you know? But I have the idea that you have a good head on your shoulders, so you'll be able to handle this pretty well. Don't you think so?
I would definitely think so, especially from what I know this person. Very, very, what's the word I'm looking for now?
I just want to point out that he uses proper grammar. M-dash.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We don't always get questions that are legible.
Well, that's rather disparaging.
I didn't mean to say headstrong. Sorry.
No, you know what you say.
He says, what I'm reading from this chat, that was good advice. He definitely appreciates it. So, on his behalf, thank you, Shade. I think you're smarter on this than I am.
Well, maybe I get lucky this time. You got the internet's question, I got this one then.
Oh dear, that's not fair at all.
I know, that's not very flattering, is it?
You get plus 5 reputation. And I have a feeling I didn't even answer that "how do I internet" question. That's not even a fair question.
We're not gonna go back on that one.
How do I ask that question or answer? Answer. Goodness. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, since that's been done and dealt with. Online dating, and this is a big one. I think we could probably go on for this for a long time, but I know you had quite a few things that you wanted to say. We collected a bunch of information and stuff like that, and statements, I suppose. A lot of people had a lot of really interesting things to say, and I really appreciated it. A few really spoke out to me, and there was a couple of posters on chat that, particularly Being Friends, I believe, that spoke from personal experience, saying that they had actually gotten together themselves, and it had definitely worked out, and they currently actually live together, which is very, it's very very surprising how it can work out sometimes. A lot of people, there's a huge stigma in our society, I think, on against online dating and stuff like that, because I think there was, as you mentioned once, a huge thing in the 90s where it was really bad, and it was the culture of the internet was very, very different. But nowadays,
they want your kidneys and they want your children.
Yeah, exactly.
What they want.
Nowadays, I think with mediums like being able to live stream movies and Skype and things like that it's very much possible. And yes, it's a different kind of relationship, but no, it's not necessarily bad.
What I was thinking is basically how it progressed from that extreme of kidneys and pedophiles everywhere, sort of. Then it transformed into sort of like, okay, they're probably not after your kidneys, but is it real? And that's sort of fading now, because it really turns out that nowadays, the way that how we're all hooked in, and how a lot of jobs that we have, all of our coworkers, is sort of, many of them involve the internet, and it's like 60% of the people or so that we meet, at least I think it was an American survey somewhere, so it's something like 60%. It's like a really large amount of people that we meet in our life we encounter first online. And so it's only natural that it includes sort of romantic interests. Why not? So I guess the crux has been like, is it real? Well, if I may, like, offer an opening statement here, I think it's really very observing it very narrowly to say, like, well, on the internet it's not real. I mean, how could you know that the other person is not a polar bear with 6 heads on the other end, or something like that? Whereas in reality, that's true, but relationships in the flesh that have been exclusively in real life also involve a level of trust. You don't know if they're not secretly a serial killer either. You know, that's just going to be a thing. The only person we really know reasonably well in life, and that is ourselves. And you know, it's not so if you're going on the internet and you're just sort of role-playing, bland 20-something person who's never had anything interesting to say, then yeah. But people nowadays, they actually reveal their personalities. They actually are themselves, you know. Sarf isn't actually a jerk in real life.
Oh, I would disagree. I think.
Oh.
I can be.
Never mind. I revoke everything I just said. What was your opening statement?
Such a nerd. Yeah, I think as I was saying before, with a lot of how the internet is nowadays, it's really changed, and it's hard to understand from someone that doesn't really know it, doesn't really understand. But the internet is not what it was 10, 20 years ago. It's changed completely, and as it's progressed, kind of evolved in its own world. A lot of things have changed. A lot of factors. It's not the same field that it was. So things that weren't possible are possible now. You're not really just getting to know somebody through the occasional text or typing on a forum or something like that, because you can do things like trading pictures and video calls on Skype and things like that. And I think also
good point.
With the progression of the internet and people really growing around it, you can really, and this is something that not everyone can really do, not everyone really understands, you can really project yourself, I suppose, on the internet. Yes, you can be, like I said before, you can be someone that you're not, and I think that's the biggest thing. But I mean,
and you can share your everyday life almost, because it's not so separate as it used to be. It's not like, oh, I'm going to separate my 1 hour internet time now and I'll play a video game. It's like you're almost always online, many people. And it's not like you're going in a separate, the internet reality room or something, and you're talking to your e-boyfriend there for an hour, and then you just leave, and it's just completely shut off, and in the rest of the world you don't actually have anyone and something. It's all online. It's a separate reality or something. It's no longer like that. And the ways that we can project, as you said, it has really progressed. It's really easy. You don't need. It's not like a long distance relationship with someone in Thailand when you only have a cell phone. It's not like that anymore.
I think another thing that's really become the allure of going to this type of thing for a lot of people in the younger ages. Oh, my cat wants to leave. I think one of the main things is you're not having to go through the awkward first introductions and breaking the ice and things like that, because you're both out for the same thing, really. You meet someone online and it's not difficult to go from there. So I think really the culture of it is that instead of having to go out and try to meet someone on your own and being so miserable with all the everything not working out at home, you can meet someone online that has your interests, and you don't, instead of trying to find someone that doesn't, or try to compromise somewhere along the way, you can really find the person that you're looking for, because there's so many people to go through, choose from, and things like that. However, the detriment in that is that being online, you're not meeting face to face. It requires, I think, a lot more commitment, like sitting in front of the computer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I speak from personal experience. It's very difficult to have to be able to have all that time, especially when you're at school or you have a job or something like that, and trying to socialize with friends, trying to balance all that, and then having this online relationship with this person who wants to talk all the time or wants to be able to have a conversation here and there. I speak from personal experience. I was in one, and it didn't work out. I wasn't the nicest person, I'll admit. I didn't really have the time. I was unfortunately really wished I could. In the end, it was just it's better sometimes just to let things like that go.
I've yet to encounter a person whose first relationships were awesome. It's sort of when you're young and you're having a relationship, it's sort of having a relationship not with the actual person you're dating. You're having a person with your ideal relationship, and you're pretending basically that person fits the bill. But then you discover, oh no, they're actually not the
really
six.
Don't mix as much as you had hoped you would, and I understand that too. There was nothing wrong with the person I had become romantically involved with, but I mean, there's just a lot of things. The whole online thing didn't fit to me.
They didn't have the chicken you were looking for.
Chemistry. there wasn't, yeah. There wasn't a lot of chemistry, and you can't force something like that, because if you don't have that, that's really something that you don't find until much further down the line, because at the beginning you think it's perfect, it's all that, you both have the same kind of interests, you both want that, but I mean, when it boils down to it, the tedious parts later on, when you have to deal with finding out the not so good parts about these people, that's part of a relationship, is being able to look past those and see the good stuff. But when you don't have that chemistry, it's hard to do that, and you can't force something that isn't there.
Well, you shouldn't. No. I was actually going to sort of contradict myself, and contradict you perhaps as well, because while it is true that you can have a completely valid and real relationship online, and you can they're as much a mystery in many ways as they are in the flesh, it is a really good tool if you want a successful relationship that's long distance. If you meet them a few times and have plans for perhaps ending up living together and such, it's good to have sort of goals to progress towards being together, because if you really like each other and you're online, you're gonna start feeling lonelier than when you were alone almost at some point. And you can put in the effort to make Skype calls. You have to put in the effort to reach out as much as possible and socialize. But if you have some sort of plan, like, well, when I finish college, I'm going to search for jobs in your area or something like that, that helps so much, because you have something to look forward to, something to work towards.
I agree completely. You have to set kind of commitments for that type of thing. I think the biggest thing to be able to make that type of thing work is setting commitments, setting goals and stuff like that. And I know when you're in a relationship with someone you know in your personal life, you don't have to so much set those commitments as just kind of like let things go day by day. It's nice to be able to do that. But with an online relationship, if you don't set goals, if you don't commit, then things really aren't going to be going anywhere. You fall into tediousness, really.
Yeah. Shall we further expand upon this, or do you want to see what other people have to say? Know how you want to tackle this one? Does you want to read people's testimonies?
Well, there's a few that spoke out to me. It's hard to kind of go over all these. There is a lot.
They're not real messages. Sort of found on the internet somewhere.
Not so much found on the internet, stuff that was actually provided to me, stuff that people sent me on the thread. There's one or two success stories that I've heard, and actually one thing that really stands out to me is one poster mentioned. This actually covers both topics, transgenderism and online dating, and this person who deals with an abusive parent because he identifies as transgender, he or she, identifies as transgendered. And this particular person who goes through a lot of depression, a lot of physical abuse, which is very, very frightening to me, actually, to read. But one thing that really spoke out to me about that is what they mentioned was that online dating, however, it may not be the greatest thing. Not everybody's cup of tea. But what it does when he comes home is it gives someone to talk to him, someone that loves him and appreciates him, and there's the feeling of being able to feel that back. And that really can get someone through.
It doesn't matter what other people's cups of teas are. They can drink coffee for all I care. If it's your cup of tea, if you get something worthwhile out of it, sounds to me like this is opening a couple of cans of worms and Pandora's boxes, if you ask me. But as far as we should save that for the next episode. So, but yeah, we
won't go too far into that particular one. But that message definitely really spoke out to me, and I really respect that. Oh crap!
I will caution though against becoming too dependent on on anyone when it's not yet set in stone, as it were, not yet progressed to the level where it's mutually agreed upon that you're in a fully super serious committed relationship. I mean, if just try to approach it from a really good friend angle and sort of let it sort of permeate and progress in a natural way, and
that's a big
see
thing
where you end up.
And I believe you mentioned to me, a conversation we had a few days ago, is not going out, and I see too many of these stupid
Yes.
threads and posts on forums and stuff like that I go
Yes.
on about...
Hey, young kids these days just jumping in with their forever online mated relationships.
And
like within a day.
The posts that I see all too often on I can think of one particular forum, God knows why I'm on there. Single, lonely, I want someone now. Stuff like that. People 13 years old are making these types of threads. 13, 14, even 20 years old.
And the person you will get will not be very beneficial to your well-being.
The thing...
If you're presenting like that.
The thing with that, the best way to handle that is not going out and looking for it. Just kind of let things flourish how they come. You go out, you meet people, make friends and stuff like that. On image boards, it's insanely easy to do that with the social media nowadays. And going out and making friends and kind of let things grow from there, but don't go out of your way to try to find it, because the worst things happen. You're just going to go through relationship after relationship, and it's not going to be fun for anyone, and it's very emotionally draining.
Society really has it built into our heads that this is the most important thing in life. This is like the number one status item. Be in a relationship or be completely worthless. But despair does not a good relationship make. No matter how much commitment you put into it, if you're just needing to be in a relationship, it doesn't matter how much time you put into it, because you have to also function on your own. If you're in a relationship that's healthy, you both have your own selves as well. It's not like you're tied at the waist and you're like doing everything together and being super happy romance couple all the time. It's not chickenly possible. It's just, it doesn't work like that. Like you said, you should try to see this online dating as sort of like a possibility, a possible opportunity that presents itself. Meet people and keep an open mind, but don't go like, oh, this person, you're gonna be my lover for the rest of my life. It's just...
No, this person.
Oh, no,
wait, maybe not that. No, this one. Oh, no.
And now I'm broken up again.
Oh, that didn't work out. We'll keep trying.
Down at the end of Lonely Street. Yeah, it will just be all sorts of heartache. I was actually not sure if you want to sort of go over the testimonies, but there was one that mentioned, I'm not sure if we're supposed to read it, but that mentioned that stagnating relationships, basically online relationships where they're not going anywhere. Do you want to address that or something?
Chicken.
That was interesting. I was monologuing like crazy, but
and it started cutting out again. Oh, jeez.
Sorry about that.
We're still in the middle of it, so no.
Where were we then?
Okay, this is gonna be really fun trying to re-edit all this audio back into place. Sorry for those who were watching. I think that was my internet, actually. Thank God it didn't cut out for 20 minutes. Yeah, I have issues. You know, Shaw Cable isn't the greatest internet provider out there right now, unfortunately. I think Arctic is going to have a lot of fun tonight trying to splice all this together. Fun stuff. Anyways, I have no idea where you were, so you can continue if you want, or...
I can sort of summarize, if that's okay. But basically, it's one of those...
Why don't you summarize the whole thing? We'll cut out the last part.
The whole thing perspective is that online relationships are prevalent and becoming more accepted as real relationships. But I think it's a boy, because he ends up saying it. He's going to say a free man forever, perhaps.
That's
so. I'm going to assume that it's a boy or a man, whatever. But he says his experience is okay. Her experiences as being a free man and being in relationships is not extremely successful. It says had a falling out with a boyfriend who ignored her or didn't give her any sympathies, basically, and just sort of like faded away into nothingness, as some relationships are prone to do. And current relationship seems to go the same way, where it feels like it's idling and not going anywhere. Sort of, and I think this is very important. This sort of a perspective, because I think it's very common. Many online relationships are just sort of tagging along for the ride, and you sort of feel like you put the coin in the slot, and now you're committed. And the best way to free yourself from the commitment is to not talk with the other person. You know, because you can't actually just confront them. You know, that's like, that takes a modicum of chicken to do. You can't just do that. No. So I think we were addressing this issue earlier, where you have to have some sort of plan. You have to sort of know where you're going and not take it super serious from the get-go. Sort of treat it as a casual thing. And if you end up just talking each other's ears off and being so extremely infatuated with each other, then it might be something to consider, yeah. But if it doesn't happen, if you're just having...
What I found when you keep talking to someone and you just kind of like talk and talk and talk for hours and hours and hours, you get 3 or 4 months in and then you have nothing left to talk about.
Ah, really?
Yeah. And
hasn't happened to me yet.
Unfortunate. Well, like you could talk forever, but...
Sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
Well, I'm not saying that the relationship should be like, you can talk to each other. This is like you're set for life. But it is more to go on than having like just wanting to help someone or want to be in a relationship. But the actual conversation is not very spirited. It's like you end up actually feeling negatively charged because they have a negative personality, or you just don't click. At that point, you should really consider whether or not you are actually in a relationship. You know, in modern times, actually, I think we as a species, as a society, have progressed backwards in this one particular thing where it seems like you can't actually date casually because there's
no such thing as casual.
It's like you're a chicken or you're a playa or something. I don't know if you're dating casually, but it's like you're sort of considering the possibility of being in a relationship with someone at some point. Maybe
someone in the live stream has actually pointed out something very interesting. Too many people confuse infatuation for love and rush into a relationship rather, thinking that they're ready, which is a very good point. Actually, I think
that's true. Mm-hmm. But still, infatuation is and passion is more to go on than nothing. I'm just saying that's you have sure. some sign that you could potentially have a relationship. That's something. Then you can consider it. Until that happens, why are you thinking about it?
And I think this is actually a really good point for sorry anyone that's people in their younger years, 13, 14 years old, who are determined to have relationships. And this forum I mentioned earlier has far too many people who are 13 years old and have had more than...
Get off my lawn!
More boyfriends than they can count on their hands. And it's like it's the biggest popularity contest in the world, and I don't understand it. And I think going off on that's not really what Bleeding Raindrops was talking about, because obviously these people have no commitment whatsoever and probably couldn't understand if it slapped them in the face. But
they have a different idea of what a relationship is, and if the people they are in a quote-unquote relationship with are on the same page and the same lack of expectations, then that's okay. But
I think our society is very much obsessed
with relationships. Yes, absolutely.
You did mention that earlier, yeah.
the need to have a relationship is sort of ingrained in the very fiber of our being from an early age. We're taught that basically if you don't have a relationship, you're not valid as a human being.
And I mean, why is that? It's much more fun to be independent, really.
Well, if you can function by yourself and be happy, then you can use that as a foundation to potentially have a relationship. I mean, sure. And the great thing about being functional by yourself then is that when your relationship ends, and I say when instead of if, because most relationships, even successful ones, are finite. They end at some point. That
you only ever going to have.
If you're together for 6 years and the relationship ends, that's okay. It doesn't mean that it was a bad relationship. But when it ends, or if it ends, you will still be able to survive instead of just sinking into a crippling depression because you're dependent on the relationship so much. But no, you're still there as you, and you'll still be able to do things that you like, and perhaps eventually when you're over this particular relationship, move on to another one maybe. But one step at a time, I say.
Someone's actually mentioned right now, we long for companionship. It's just how we're wired. Friendship serves that purpose, which is fine. The problem comes when you try to move past that before you're ready. People get caught up in life's problems and assume that a relationship is the answer, but it isn't.
And deciding that, I like this person, I'm going to have a relationship with them.
I have depression. That's because I don't want to be in a relationship. Because I want to be in a relationship. I have all these life problems, and the solution is relationship. When really relationship, it's just going to overcomplicate things. And I think now we've gotten off the topic of online dating and just sort of dating in general.
And bantering and whining.
Yeah. There's definitely much of that.
One thing, though, I do want to address before we move on to a few other messages I see pop up. But meeting people online and having the opportunities for relationship in mind is a great thing. If you're really looking for someone, dating sites aren't automatically like a no-go, but there are a few important things to keep in mind. And I'm not sure what your perspective is on dating sites, whether they're valid tools of getting into relationships. Because
I think very much so. In modern society, there's the potential's there. And especially when you're meeting the person in real life, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Oh, but the amount of creepy stalker people that you'll find on these sites, I have some personal experience with this.
You find very much a lot of people really are finding relationships nowadays. I mean, that's hard. You obviously have to sort through and sort of sift through all those that aren't so good. But I mean, in life, I think one thing to remember is you're only ever going to have one relationship that worked out. And even if it didn't work out, I mean...
Okay.
I think... I mean, that's an interesting way of looking at it, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. But I think you can have, a life without any, or one, or two, or three.
Well, yeah.
It's all very much possible. And you get to keep an open mind for that. And you have to be... willing to be okay with that, you know what I mean? It's not the end of the world if you don't have a successful relationship in your lifetime, or it doesn't make you a horrible failure at relationships if you have 3 relationships in your lifetime. There might be 3 fantastic relationships. Might be.
That's true. That's true. Kind of what I was looking at it though. If you were to die married happily, then obviously in the end you only ended up with one relationship that really worked out, and if you didn't, then obviously you didn't have any. But I guess another way to look at that is sort of just because it's ended doesn't mean it really worked out, because sometimes life has to move on. You have to go to college, you have to move away, you decide that it isn't quite what you wanted. That doesn't mean it didn't work out. So I suppose there's different ways of looking at that.
Yeah, but I was actually going to share a horrible anecdote with online finding people on dating sites. Actually, it wasn't
episode of Shade doing anecdotes.
Here we are then. I actually wasn't looking for a relationship because I thought I'll just meet a person I thought it's time to meet a new person in my life.
That's risky.
And see what kind of person they end up being, you know?
Oh, we haven't been recording.
Chicken.
It's never the intention.
Very professional. Oh, goodness. And the best part, for once, I'm not responsible for this.
For once.
Wait.
I forgot to record. But I'm going to have to cut out the entire part where I just swore for 5 minutes.
Chicken.
Our rating just shot up about 10 points.
Scootaloo, scootaloo.
Woe is me.
Chicken.
Hush now, quiet now. It's time to lay your sleepy head. I'm just trying to calm you. Are you relaxed?
I'm totally relaxed.
You got some cookies in front of you?
I don't have cookies. If I was eating on recording, how do you think that would go over? Well, I think that
no.
I've been drinking soda though, so I don't think we can record much longer because I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom pretty quickly. I chugged that back.
Okay, so fillies and gentlecles.
Well, we have an audio recorder for streaming and stuff.
Okay,
so,
well, we will continue our great discussion on online relationships. I was about to share an embarrassing anecdote.
Okay, yeah, anecdote, and we should probably
try to wrap it up. Yeah, it's a great way to end it.
Well, it's an hour and a half long recording right now, so
there are people on the internet who are, as I described them, psychic vampires, and this is a textbook case. I was just trying to meet a new person, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise. They were interrogating me. It was like I had Jack Bauer in front of me, and they just asked questions about my very philosophy in life, and it just kept going. I couldn't just have a normal, casual conversation. It was like I have to decide everything from the get-go. What do I want with this conversation? What do I want? What do you want from me? So very much like that. And in the end, this person pawned me off to a friend who was looking for a friend. And they also started interrogating me. It's very interesting. 2 interrogations. And in the end, they started going, oh, you don't like me, you're going to block me, and you hate me. And the first 10 times you're dealt that card, you go, no, I don't hate you, and no, I won't block you. But if they keep going, the self-fulfilling prophecy becomes true, and you have to block them. You know, you have to actually start getting annoyed by these people, because they won't accept you as any word that you say with their negativity, and just sort of feeding on your spirit and your life force until you're drained dry or you cut off contact. And you have to realize that you can't help everybody on the internet. They have to be ready for that sort of stuff. You can do only so much. If they don't believe, if they reject basically your advice, you can't do anymore. So that's something to keep in mind, because online dating sites, my experience, that's the #1 haven for people like that. Because again, desperation is one of those traits that is very prevalent when it comes to online relationships, and you have to watch out for that. You have to try to look for positive influences, as it were. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're traversing dating sites, try to get a bit of a read on it. If it's just a profile with just, hi, I don't know what to say here, talk to me on MSN, that's not very much to go on, is it?
Not really.
If you're making a profile, list your interests. You don't have to like give a psych profile from A to Z, but this is describe the way you live your life, as it were. And people who find that interesting will go like, oh, maybe this person's interesting. That, you know, that's sort of how I look at it anyway. I think we would reach the point of reiterating our standpoints if we go on longer.
We definitely talked for too long.
Too long. Okay, good. But this last second comment question thingy. Should we address that one?
Everybody's good. And I think
no,
we can
the one in the Google Doc. Hold on. He's saying something. I don't see anything. The one at the bottom of the Google Doc. It's sort of.
Oh.
That one's pretty serious.
Oh, this one. I mentioned that before. this is one that sort of talks about abusive parents and stuff like that. I did actually mention that, and that's something I'd actually rather in depth.
Oh, that's this person. Okay,
I'd rather
sorry.
talk about that in depth next week because that goes very heavily into the topic of transgenderism and things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's not mentioned here. So yeah. So I completely missed that part. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry. I haven't been paying attention to half of what you said.
I'm still professional. So are you. We're professionals.
Professionals. So
Yeah.
I got this degree right here. We can.
You have MS Paint open still? Your
No.
drawing degree? I don't think I can read that. MS Paint's handwriting with a mouse. I don't think that will count.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Okay.
I graduated from the University of Me.
So you're like fully you now, or you're so you now that you're no longer you?
I'm so me. It's not even funny. I have a degree for it.
Existential hipster incoming. Wow.
I was cool before existence was cool.
Wow. That's my closing thought. Wow.
Wow. Okay. I don't have the picture I thought I did. It was, oh goodness.
So what about the audience? Do they have closing statements so we don't have to make any?
I think we're
You're
good there.
alive.
So let's wrap this up.
All right.
Hopefully it won't sound bad in the end after all those technical difficulties.
All right.
You know, Murphy's Law kind of applied here. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And the first time that we ever went,
And the
decided
thing
to go live.
that actually couldn't go wrong actually went wrong as well. It's quite impressive when you think about it.
Yeah, I suppose.
We broke windows. We didn't know we're there.
Breaking barriers. Well, that concludes this incredibly unprofessional and drawn-out episode.
It was fun, though. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I'm going to give a future nod to our tech guy who is going to have a very long night.
Sorry.
Poor Arctic.
Oh, it's got to be such a mess. Oh my goodness. I'm going to caution you and just cut out the intro song. Cut out all the parts where you're swearing.
Not cutting
it was
out
so
the intro
bad.
song.
Can I try it again?
No, you can't try it. Now, if you'd like to take a different question, you can kind of play us out.
Oh, I have no voice left. I will be raspy, hoarse voice. Oh god, I walked into that. Oh my goodness, more pony puns. Oh, I'm feeling rather hoarse. Oh.
You congratulatory clap for that awful pun. Anyways, this concludes this episode. Shade, stop talking. Anyways,
Time to go to bed.
Yeah, it's time to go to bed. Leave.
It's 8:40 in the morning. Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you for staying up with us. That was definitely a big benefit. I don't know where I would have been if we had to have somebody else on that didn't talk so much.
Oh, you would have been by yourself. That
By
would have been
myself,
awesome.
and what would I have done with myself, Shade? I'd have to talk, and I don't know what I'm saying half the time.
like,
These words are just kind of coming out of my
so-
mouth in no particular order. So,
a German accent and then switching back to your normal voice. Ja, das ist wunderbar, Saab. Gut gemacht.
So thank you guys for tuning in and putting up with our terrible ramblings. This has been Sarfthemagnifico and Shade. Be sure to keep tuning in. Unfortunately, our regular co-host Amonisis couldn't make it in. Wasn't feeling so great today, but let's give him a big hug in advance. So wish him luck. Hopefully he'll be able to come on next week, and we'll see as far as guests. I really want to bring on someone who, as I mentioned before, identifies with transgenderism. I'd love to have someone that could talk about that with us. So make sure if you have any input there, you can hit us up on Tumblr or my email, sarfthemagnifico@gmail.com, and let me know. I'd love to talk about that for a bit. So keep on keeping on. This has been the Advice Column.